All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to our first podcast. We actually, which we don't even have a name for yet. So at some point, I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out. I have no idea. All right. So I am Josh Carley. With me, I have Andrew Green.
Yo.
Looking as beautiful ever, and we have Neil Porsche.
Yeah.
Looking as angry already, and we haven't even started talking yet. And next time we do this, John Michael Carley should be with us. But since we're talking about Mass Effect 3, and he didn't beat it yet, shame on him. Which is a nice segue into Mass Effect 3.
I don't think you're supposed to point out segues.
Oh, I just did. I thought it was a clever segue.
Neil has a knife.
Segue. Alright, so Mass Effect 3, specifically the ending, extended cut endings, that just came out, last week? 6 days ago. And maybe at some point we'll talk about the actual game, since I do believe that there's actually a game attached to the ending. I think. A lot of people forget about that.
It made me cry.
People are going to hear this. I don't know what you want.
I know.
All right. So, best way to do this, I think, is just kind of jump in, give our thoughts, and then we will, of course, tell each other why we're wrong.
Well, since Andrew played it, let's think about Andrew. How you
I
felt about the ending.
was actually gonna head to Andrew first.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't play the extended cut, but
Thanks for coming.
I watched it on YouTube. And
all of them. You watched all.
I watched everything on YouTube, even the scenes that they added during the last mission. And overall, I enjoyed it. Of course, the first time I played through without the extended cut, I didn't hate it as much as the rest of the world hated it, but it was just poorly done.
Poorly done how?
The writing was just terrible. The entire structure of that last epilogue was just awful.
You mean like ever before you go up and meet the Godchild, or like
right when you get zapped with that beam is kind of when it starts going downhill.
So what did you choose in the end between the red, blue, and the green?
I chose red.
Which was which one?
Destroy.
So do you feel like they made that better?
I feel like Destroy was more the same, but after watching the endings of the green and the blue, it was really hard to decide which one was better than the other. It was harder to decide after watching the extended cut.
I don't think that there was a bad ending as much as in the beginning and before the extended cut. I actually think that all of them were necessarily like bad endings, like not bad like they sucked, but like bad as in like
bad for the universe.
Yeah, it was just the mass relays explode.
Right.
The Normandy's engines explode, and everyone's stuck there, around Earth, and now they just retconned all of that. No matter which ending you choose, that's still better. Because in every ending, they actually add a line that says how, this can all be rebuilt. And, that wasn't there.
Or there's hope, which fits
or
in Mass Effect 3, not God of War 3.
Right,
but it fits in Mass Effect 3, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Neil, define retcon.
Retcon would be when you do something, and then they do something to completely, redo the whole
Which
thing.
I liked how coming into this they said, essentially, we will not retcon anything.
Yeah.
And if you watch,
And
I'm like, oh, but you did.
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, they said, we're not going to change the ending, but they kind of did.
Now,
either Mass Relay is destroyed or it's not. That's
right. Well, now they're saying, what they were saying is, like, before, they didn't really mean, like, destroyed as in they're completely gone. They just meant that they were damaged, but people mistook that to mean that.
Well, I mistook what I saw on the screen and watching the thing explode.
Yeah, when you see it explode into 20 different pieces.
Well, it's like seeing a mushroom cloud and be like, no. It wasn't a nuke.
Okay.
It wasn't an explosion.
But to be clear, so you chose to destroy, and you chose, Josh, you chose what?
I initially chose to destroy. When I went back and played it, I chose to destroy. Just to see, I'm like, well, that's the ending I went with originally.
Correct.
If I were to go back and play it again, I don't know that I would pick destroy.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's where I was like,
so when you then went and watched them all.
I've seen all of them. I've seen.
So I picked
Space Jesus.
So I picked Space. I didn't pick. Well, that's kind of Space. I picked the Space Magic one which is the synthesis. Yeah, whatever. Where you basically everyone turns into green glowing one race go.
Right, and then you go have a picnic with Harbinger.
Right, and everyone
lemonade in the park.
Right,
Yes,
actually, Reapers actually come in and build the cities and rebuild everything. Which I think that happens if you do Control too, though. That the Reapers,
Shepard commands them to do that.
Right.
Whereas instead, there's no enjoying lunch. There's no. Well, we got to sit down and talk.
My favorite, I actually, all stuff aside, I actually did like the
extended
synthesized ending, that like even though like it is the most like almost blasphemous to the whole entire Mass Effect universe, with like
Right.
you know like him saying that like synthetics and humans, or synthetics and organic life, can't get along.
Right.
I do think that that is the most ridiculous. That the only way that they
Kinda.
really get along is if you merge their DNA with match. And this is something
Now-
that doesn't even make sense.
Now, this is what something that I. So, well, are you good? Do you want to keep going? Because I think that's a good. I'd like to piggyback off that point.
I mean, yeah, no. The only other thing I really liked it. Like, I didn't have a problem with it. I don't think that I don't think it added that much more to it, but it made me feel like it wasn't exactly the wrong choice. Or when I first picked it, after playing it and watching the other choices, I almost felt like the synthesized one was the wrong choice.
Right.
When I didn't feel like that going back and playing it with what they added, because like I said, I feel like now they're like everything's fine. Like they give all
Right.
the endings, hope. That's
Right,
what I was
right,
gonna
right.
say. So what were you yeah.
Well, I was just saying, like it's interesting that I will say to start on the pros of it. I do think that, like you said, initially there were 3 endings, and no matter which one you picked, I'm like, I don't know if I picked the right one, but if I pick this one, like what happens? I don't get this. What's going on here?
A slideshow happens. That's what you're saying.
Yes, they added a PowerPoint presentation. So.
Which, in the defense, though, like if you're gonna make something within a couple of weeks, you absolutely that's the
Right,
only
right,
thing
right,
you can do
right,
it.
right.
And also,
Well, I'll let that one slide.
Wait,
I was
and-
going to let them slide on that.
and the weirdest part about that is that's all probably people needed anyway. In the very first thing was to just do a slideshow, being like, "Oh, look, if you save the Krogan race, you can see the
little
baby."
Krogan baby,
Yeah, no,
yes.
that's all you
Green-eyed
need to be
Krogan
able to
baby.
see, which
Right.
you probably didn't see. But
Well,
Yeah.
there was still like a yay,
Yeah,
but it
that's-
just wasn't,
right, and that's the type of
eliminating
stuff
from
that like I think they actually did in other BioWare games, like Dragon Age ends like
Right,
that,
right.
and and even I mean that's all I really needed, and now it differentiated in all the endings with the. It wasn't just different color explosions; like
Right.
they did different
I
things.
feel like, well, yeah, and so to me, like I was saying, just to start nicely, like the biggest compliments that I can give the endings would be that I actually feel like there are different endings now. Like I don't feel like they're just variations of the same thing, and that the endings now actually make me want to go pick up 1 and 2 again.
Right,
Not
right.
necessarily 3.
Yeah.
But 1 and 2 again.
Well, you're dumb because 3 is actually the best game, but I can see why you would say that. But
Well, you want me to tell you why I would have trouble picking
I
up
would just
3
thought
again?
you're wrong. I mean that makes sense. I can yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, because to me, one of the. So I knew going into this, and maybe this had something to do with it, and maybe it's because what was 2 months after I played the game,
Yeah.
I was fairly emotionally detached from it. So really, they could have done nothing. And
That's
because
because you let Tally die.
Huh? Well,
No,
that could be in it
yeah.
too.
Oh,
But,
man.
But no, I feel like I feel like they made a lot of changes about nitpicky things as far as. Well, why is he on a ship right now? Like, how did he get down from there to Earth?
Yeah.
And things,
Well,
which
wait,
I
while they-
almost feel like I feel like they almost was like fudging to make that make sense.
Well, while they did
the
explain,
knife down.
why
Right.
they left to go on the ship, which you did see the scene where
Yes.
basically it shows you if you
If you do it with your love interest, that adds like an extra thing.
right.
Well, you
so
don't have to do it.
so during
right.
so
It's just that you just don't touch their face.
So to
Right.
explain,
But if you do,
like-
there's like a couple lines of dialogue.
to explain
right.
if for some reason you didn't see that, like when you're on the ground, like your ship gets like the your guys get attacked, the people who are with you,
Right.
and they'll be picked up. You can send them off to go back to the ship and everything like that. But I don't know if you knew, but if your EMS rating wasn't high enough, did you know that you actually
Yeah.
they actually
One
get
of 'em-
killed?
yeah,
the
yeah,
harbinger
yeah.
the harbinger
yeah.
laser just
Will
blasts
destroy 'em.
them and just
Exactly.
kills them, which
That's
is
cool.
which is actually really neat.
That's
which would have been
cool.
great if that would happen to James. So you probably
Right,
should have
right,
did it that way. But no, I do like that because I really thought that everyone was just gonna die, and I
Right.
still think that was probably BioWare probably wanted more bad things to happen, and
I would see, but that's the thing is, I would have been okay if more
Me
bad
too.
things happen.
Yeah.
And my issue
you
is
say
that
wait, you
my
say
issue-
that, you say that, but I feel like that's only because it's the third game and the end of the trilogy. Because if that would have happened in 2, you would have replayed it because you wouldn't have wanted everyone to die. You know what I mean? I think it's because
But
of the
the
trilogy.
thing is, I had characters die at the end of 2 that I didn't want to die, but I was like, you know what? They died based on decisions that I made,
Yeah.
which just kind of, and that's
I agree.
and that was
Find it
my
out.
thing with 3 is that if bad things were happening because of decisions that I made, that's fine. It sucks, but it's fine. Tally died because of a decision I made. That sucks, but it was because of a decision I made.
And you were playing the game wrong if Tally died, but that's
Correct, sure. But I think the reason that the reason I would have issues going back and playing 3 is that, playing through 3 the vanilla way, never having played it before, the whole thing is a hustle for war assets. I feel like a lot of 3 is a hustle for war assets.
They make you go around and collect stuff on different planets in these stupid fetch quests that in reality have no bearing on the game. And that so you added all these slideshows. You added they actually added some new CGI of Taurians fighting on the Taurian homeworld or different and I like that, right? Sure, it makes it bigger. Yeah. Okay, so why couldn't you have, instead of adding just that, why couldn't you have done a slideshow of, I don't know, the Arachnid Queen maybe fighting, since you saved her and brought her back into this game, even if she was dead in the first game? Or why couldn't you have the Elcor, what is that? What is that thing? The Elcor, the little Elcor writing, people writing Elcors. Why couldn't you show?
That talk obnoxious and slow.
Yeah. Why couldn't you show? Why couldn't you show any of your war assets fighting? That would have just been really, really, really cool if it that just pisses me off more than anything else.
Here's one thing that I do like. So I picked the destroy ending, which just for me personally is the only one that I feel like, having watched the other ones, is the only one that I think as far as makes the most sense to me, because it's the only one that destroys the Reapers.
Right. So
I feel like, starting from 1 up until 95% of the way through 3, I feel like your mission was to destroy the Reapers. But even more so, I feel like, and that's what it is literally, but I feel like there was a lot, one of the things that I liked about the game, and one of the things that I felt like they kept reinforcing through 1, especially the end of 2, and of course in 3 they kept referring back to the end of 2, is that, and then the Casper the Genocidal Ghost, I heard someone refer to him as that, and I like that, so I'm going to use that. He even utters it in the end, is that you should not have gotten as far as you've gotten in those games.
Correct,
And you were not supposed to make it out of the end of 2, but you made it out of the end of 2. And then at the end, he says that, I basically have to reinvent everything that I've done, because no humans ever made it this far. You weren't supposed to make it this far. Yeah. And so to me, to just be synthesize or control, it didn't ring true for me. But which is why. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you have enough war assets to where you still had the breath at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize that happened.
I actually don't like.
Yeah, right. Because I think that's really weird. Because when you had that scene,
that's way more questions than it adds. Way more questions
right.
Than it should.
When you had that scene at the end where we all had it, but it shows how your ship members, your crew, they go and put the Commander Shepard sign up.
Right.
Usually Liara, she didn't put it up, right?
She did put it up.
For you?
Yes.
For destroy?
Because they said that if you did destroy and you had a high enough EMS, she holds it, rips up, but she doesn't actually put it on the wall.
Yeah, she goes to put it up and she puts it
stops.
back down.
Yeah.
And then she looks
because that implies that maybe you didn't
she kind of knew.
Or maybe you didn't fully die or whatever all this garbage like that. Yeah.
See, I wish he would have just died.
He needs to die. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like
the one thing that I felt like, now playing it before I jumped into it, I felt like I had heard that you could dismiss the Star Child.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right? And I like that they added as an option. My only problem with it,
it was more of a...
It was more, yes, it is more of a middle... Well, so I've heard 2 different ways of looking at it. And one of them was that because at the end, there's no cutscenes. There's no any of that. Yep. It's just Liara on the pod, presumably from the next cycle watching it. And then afterwards, they say, whenever they're looking up at the stars, they're saying that because you left the pod...
Yeah.
They were able to win. Mm-hmm. So in a way, you still do kind of win. So there's an optimistic way of looking at it.
And I do think that one of my friends, Tia, and he actually talked about how before this extended cut came out, how he would have just liked to have been able to basically tell the Star Child, off.
A lot of people did.
And then just have a scene where you could see Liara's the little thing she made and stuff like that. So I do think that that's actually neat, the part where they show the little video she made, because I do like that from a cinematic perspective. I think I like that part.
She mentioned that earlier in the game though, which I completely forgot
about. I don't. It was obviously just BioWare trolling, giving people to tell you that you want to select and not do anything.
Like I said, there's two ways of looking at it, and I think that's the second one. So the way I look at it is it's them trolling. Now a lot of people have said because you essentially lose. But something that I've heard someone say is that I don't care because we went down on our terms, which is essentially what they're telling the Star Child. And this is why I feel like, for me personally, just there's a lot of themes in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
What was not the theme was, there's dark energy was a theme in one of
Yeah.
them, which obviously is not a theme in this
Right.
one, which we won't get into that.
Right.
But
That's
as
a
far
writer
as
thing.
like beating the odds, unity, and then this one being the ultimate sense of unity because you've actually gotten all these races to come together.
Yeah.
And according to Casper, we have officially gotten further than we ever have before. So to me, I just felt like telling the Star Child, blow it.
Yeah.
And then him saying, so be it, that was cool. And then you lose, and that makes sense. But I really, 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 really would have loved to have seen, even if it was just this insanely insurmountable number, if there was actually a number that you could hit from your war assets
Yeah.
or whatever it was, where you could tell the Star Child to shove it
And still win.
and still win.
have your arm
Not,
light.
not without heavy casualties.
Yeah, I think that would have been
Where you're
okay if
showing
like
your arm
Earth
like-
explodes and I think it would
right.
have been okay if like maybe like you like almost everyone dies but you still can maybe destroy the Reapers. That would have been neat.
Right.
But I mean, I also think that even if you didn't win, it would have been neat to just see you lose.
That's what I'm
instead
talking
of
about.
even if you just
Yes.
even to just have the Reapers just massively you just showed you running through the
Yeah,
Turians,
so the Reaper
running through
just
everyone,
like-
just
Yes.
running over everyone. That
They
would have
showed
been a
one
lot
Reaper,
cooler.
like blowing up one
Yeah,
ship and
yeah,
then
no.
it cut to that.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I agree with
And-
you.
and
Like
to
they could
me-
have,
but
but
to
it was
me,
more of a
that
we
would
don't
have been-
care because it's
Right.
not what we
Well,
wanted
it
to
wasn't
do.
a we don't care. It was almost like a screw you.
Yeah,
is what it was.
well, they didn't write that. They had writers who wrote the ending. That was not what they wanted, but that was more of just like, oh, you want to see what would happen if you just said no?
Right.
But
makes sense.
there are some people
Like,
who were
that's-
saying stuff like the synthesize ending was a like synthesize and control
Right.
was like more of like a or synthesize and refusal was more of like you violating other people, like you saying
That's what
Yeah.
I thought. So that's why they
that's-
picked
that's like-
synthesize.
which
That's
is
the
which I
moral
can
gray
see
area
where
that
people
puts
consider
you in.
moral gray area.
Right.
But the problem is that to me, all of the decisions that you make
Are-
is you making some choice for everyone
For-
else in the whole entire
exactly, for the
galaxy.
existence
But that's
of
also
everything.
what is one of the main principles in Mass Effect is that you were constantly making these moral decisions that you should not only not have to make, but you have no right to really make. Like
Right.
you shouldn't be the one deciding about the genophage. You shouldn't be the one deciding, stuff like that. But yet, even in the end, the whole purpose of the Mass Effect universe was you being, having to make the hard decisions. And like that's why I feel like I can see what the writers were going for by giving you those options. But I think that it was just bad writing and not really being able to get across maybe what they were internalize really what they were trying to say.
Right.
Because they still
Well,
didn't.
and I get so essentially at this point, like I do feel like the ending is, from the laser forward, and I actually am okay with the conversation between the Elusive Man and Anderson. I don't feel like the Elusive Man showdown should be that doesn't make any sense.
that
Why
whole
would you
scene
do
just seemed weird, but yeah.
it's placement. I feel like it
Yeah.
was a decent conversation, but where it played out was weird.
It would have
I
been.
think-
I like that part when Anderson and him are sitting on the ship. When Anderson is like dies and you're laying on the ship watching like the Earth come up.
Yeah.
That scene almost seems like a better ending to a game. When they're just watching the
right.
Earth. Like, and that would have been cool. Like, had Godchild not even been involved. Like, if that would have just been like an ending right there and they would have showed you get destroyed or things like that, and maybe you could have made some decisions beforehand about what you were going to do with the Crucible. But I liked that as like a set piece
Right.
a lot more than you all of a sudden being on this crazy elevator that just appears out of nowhere.
Well,
and
it's
floats you up to the top.
it's a Deus Ex Machina. It was just like.
I knew you were going to use that word in here.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, what is it not that?
No, it is. I mean, I don't think that they handled that well, and I don't think that having this child talk more was necessarily the best thing in the world.
Well, I don't think the issue with it, and this is something that I've read a lot of articles by game journalists, and it's something that's really angered me. Is like, the Mass Effect fans got upset about this. Well, they got upset about that with other things because my issue was never understanding what the Star Child was talking about.
Well, yeah, or the intention of the Reapers, which
Right,
I don't
right.
think anyone really needed to know why the Reapers were doing what they were
That
doing.
wasn't an issue. I appreciate him embellishing maybe what my choice is, but
Do
I
you? Because
understood
I
it.
don't.
I understood it. My issues with the game was that why does this exist in the first place? But if this is the direction you want to go in, I'll go with you. It was that ultimately I don't like the choices that you've given me because I just feel like and then it was
So
and then the war. What was the point of war assets?
okay, so nothing. So the war assets. I think that we all went into this game after playing Mass Effect 2, thinking that the whole concept of collecting war assets was going to be like a bigger version of the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2.
Right.
Like I think that most people went into that because if you were going to make this game, that's probably how you would look at it because that sounds really exciting.
Well, they kept enforcing
yeah,
more
dude. Like
assets,
you
though.
play multiplayer, do all this stuff, but really in the end, it didn't really matter that much at all.
Very little effect
Yeah.
on
Okay, wait.
turnout.
So Andrew,
Yes.
Yes.
like, why didn't the ending originally bother you before the extended cut? Like, why do you think that it didn't really bother you? Like, you felt closure? Like, you felt...
No, I didn't feel closure at all. But I like the idea of it. I didn't like how it was executed. I like the idea of you having to make a choice for everyone. Of course, that was like the main theme throughout the entire series, anyways. The child thing was weird, but I don't know.
What are you talking about? They were showing him the whole game,
I feel like
you know?
if we were given 16 choices to choose from, I still would have like probably chosen Destroy anyways because I was just on that path.
But I mean,
Like,
when you beat the game before even the extended DLC came out,
Right.
You felt like, okay, like that was good. Like, did you feel like you were like, okay, I am satiated and content with the content they have given me? And did you feel that way, or did it feel?
Immediately, I was okay with it. Of course,
When you beat
I
it,
was-
you knew they were doing new endings, right, or no? When you beat
The
it, did you
extended-
know that you were gonna do the extended cut already?
I don't think so.
Because me and you
I
did,
don't
right?
think-
Me and Josh.
When did they announce? When
No,
did they
it
announce
was
they're
like
doing-
right after.
Okay.
When
okay.
did they announce
okay.
they're doing the DLC?
I don't
Like
know the
April
exact date
sometime?
because I think I had heard already that they were probably going to do
Yeah,
it. So.
I think they had announced it, but I hadn't.
Because I think that
'Cause I was
changed my
staying away from
opinion.
the-
I think that changed my opinion on it a little bit when they announced they were going to do it. Because then I was like, man, do I hurry up and finish the game, or like,
Yeah.
what the hell do I do? Because
Yeah.
that just seems, you know.
I think I finished it like in early May or something,
So,
and they announced it like in April. I don't remember.
so do you think that the Destroy ending still is the best ending?
That's the one I would have gone with, even if they gave you a choice of. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's their game, and
Yeah.
they want to end it how they want to end it.
Yeah, and that was the whole argument of like creative, like are they chickening out, are they backing out? And I do actually think though that with this retconned ending,
Right.
that they are actually chickening out from a creative standpoint because I do think that they did want to actually destroy the mass relays. I think they did want you shipwrecked on a planet or your crew. I think that they actually retconned all that to better propel the franchise, like give it other legs. Because I think that the writers had something in mind, and because of the fan reaction, they are having to go back and change a lot of that
Well,
stuff.
I think though, it's weird to me because a lot of people have thrown artistic, creative, like these are words that have been thrown around a lot. But ultimately, I feel like so they've made these games, and I don't know. I mean, as far as games, a lot of the games that have come out now, this as a trilogy, as a story, as an interactive medium is probably some of the best stuff I've played in a while. So. And it's the same thing with movies and well, not the same thing with movies because movies are 2 hours. This is depending on whoever.
150 hours.
Right.
yeah.
Right. So to just do something and then to say artistic vision, get off me, it seems a little strange to me because. So you're telling me that I just feel like that's such a.
Yeah, but you don't want them to make a game. You don't. Okay, like the worst thing that people always act like is like when people just make a game that is QA basically designed, right? Because
Right.
games are weird. Because you can argue games are art, and that whole debate is like the most ridiculous thing in the world. But you want them to have a vision and follow through with it. Yet we complain if we don't like the vision. You know, I feel like the argument.
But I don't know that because the vision for 3 was not the vision they've had since 1. They've had you change it and readjust it for 3.
But that's with
So-
anything. You can. It's hard to. Yeah, I mean, but that's game development.
that's the
That's a
nature-
game.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
nature of
game
the
development.
business.
That's the problem. That's a medium problem.
Well, but I mean, and so you can't say, well, this is what we've wanted. It's not what you wanted all along. You had to curtail this at some point, and I don't think that people, at least me personally, I wasn't upset with a lot of things because there's some people just like, well, I reject a lot of things in the game, and I don't like some things in the game, but I don't reject the game in
James
its
Vega,
entirety.
yeah.
I don't reject James Vega.
I reject James
He was
Vega.
my guaranteed. I'm not going to have to use a medikit on you.
I've never put him in a single time the whole entire
Dude,
squad. The whole
his
time.
his grenades sometimes.
Yeah, but see,
just
but you didn't
solve
have
issues.
Javik, so really Josh barely beat the
What
game
was
if
the
you
black
didn't have
guy's
Javik.
name in Mass Effect 2?
Jacob.
Yeah,
Jacob, yeah.
Jacob.
But you want to talk about something I didn't like in 3? It was like, 2 character here. Mass Effect 2 character here.
See, but I felt like no,
Mass
you
Effect 2
needed to do
character
that.
here.
You needed to do that because because
You telling me I couldn't have a single one of them on my team? That's
no, because they wanted to add more characters every time. That was like their whole thing.
That's
So
absurd.
we all both picking the destroy ending. You realize that still means that Edie and all the Geth die. So that's
Right.
that's actually why I couldn't do it. Like
Right.
personally, from like a weird
Yeah.
choice thing, is like I really liked the Geth because I didn't make dumb mistakes like Josh on the Ragnarok or
Right,
whatever it's
right,
called.
right.
You know, Geth and the Quarians actually got to work together and stuff like that. And I just felt like it'd be really shitty of me to
Right.
let them all die
Mhm.
just to destroy the Reapers if I could make the Reapers rebuild the homeworlds like I did in my ending. I just didn't really like
felt
that.
like the synthesized ending was so it was
Space
just so
magic.
fairy tale fantastical.
Yeah, it was so like
it was so out of place.
synthesis
It's honestly it's my
butterflies.
least favorite one because it's like this is so far. I felt like it was so far removed from everything.
You know,
everything.
the
that we've
only
done to this
okay.
point.
I liked everything in the sense of I thought it was hilariously awesome. But the worst part about that ending was when they first start to like glow green in the eyes, and you're on Earth and they're like shooting each other, and then the husk becomes self-aware.
Oh,
Did you know-
yeah,
and he like
yeah,
looks
yeah.
around. That
And
was
it's
the
like-
worst thing in the
they're
whole
like
entire
standing
world.
around
Yeah.
together.
That would be surprising. That's going to be like the next DLC. Would be like the husk hanging around with you and you getting one of that. That would be really super great.
The synthesis ending put such a cork in the bottle. Like it just.
Yeah,
It's-
but
Like,
it was
like, where do you take the series from there? Like if they like
you don't.
Edie literally
You're in the
said.
three, like you need
Edie
to.
literally said, "This is
No, they said you could.
this is like the last stage of evolution."
No, she actually talks about how we
It's
could
the
learn
next
more.
step in
Yeah,
evolution.
it's the next
Well,
step. They
no,
talk
but
about
she
being
said
able to
something
evolve
about
more.
immortality or something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But I
Well,
mean,
to-
I think synthesize would actually be the easiest to go from because it'd be awesome.
Well, to me, so segue it
Let's just
back
play the
into
game never dead then if you just
That
don't
would be
care
awesome.
about immortality. Like,
Well, but they didn't say immortality. They said that they're stepping closer to it. I don't think they actually they reached mortality. But to bring it back.
Oh wait. Also, the Citadel didn't blow up in the ending either, though, because originally they show the Citadel
Right.
blowing up, and the Citadel is also
that's
damaged
true.
now.
Yeah.
And
They
not
showed a
blown
picture
up.
of it like being rebuilt.
Yeah.
Like the
Well,
buildings and stuff.
But I guess my thing was, they talk about, to bring it back to, we were talking about artistic vision, and I'm all about artistic vision, but I just feel like no matter what medium it's in, whether it's games, movies, music, stuff like that, I feel like, yes, some things are, like David Lynch, for example. I feel like David Lynch artistically does things that I like, but a lot of people don't like. But then there are some things that I just feel like just aren't good.
Yeah, when people had that argument
And-
with Metal Gear Solid 2 when it came out, when
Right.
like Hideo Kojima was like, "Nope, we're totally gonna play as Raiden for 90% of this game, and I know you really want to play as Snake, and that's why you gave us your $60, but too bad because
Right.
this is the game that I want to make." And people went crazy about that.
Right. Whereas I just feel like Mass Effect, the end of Mass Effect 3 was just bad writing.
But do you feel like that they lied to the consumer? Like people were arguing that they lied about.
I have a hard
Your decisions
time.
mattering.
I have a hard time believing that saying it's not like your choices are going to be A, B, and C, and then in fact giving someone only A, B, and C.
But they
is
added
Now
anything-
D.
Yeah, they added D.
Right, but I'm
Now
saying like
D.
initially,
agree.
how,
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Don't
Like-
have 11, 12
No,
points
because
back.
I think, but
A 12 more
but
to go.
honestly, like encompassing everything that we're saying, I still feel like, and this was my argument after I beat the game the first time, is that the whole game of Mass Effect 3 is an ending, and that's why
Yes,
it doesn't,
right.
and that's why it didn't really matter to me even when I first played it, that the ending was a little weak in the writing department. Outside of a few key things that they've now retconned with this extended DLC,
Right.
like with explaining why they got back on the ship or explaining how things didn't really blow up. But like I felt like the whole game was an ending. Like people
Right.
were dying, and it was hitting me then, like when Warden dies,
Right.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
or when you get to go talk to all those people and do that last little walkthrough that Josh walked past the first time like a moron.
Oh, man.
That
5:30 in the morning, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like I gotta go to
I
bed.
love that.
I feel like
part. It
that
was
just
so awesome.
all was. That was the ending to me. Like I
Right.
feel like if you're gonna make a trilogy, they did do that third game right up until that very end. I feel like they really did
For the
handle
most
all
part.
that.
I mean, there were things about 3 that I had issues with periodically.
How about,
throughout the
but
game.
that part where you press the renegade action about Thane, wasn't that pretty awesome? When you're fighting Kai Lang, did you not
Yes,
press?
yeah.
That was like you pressed
Oh,
it too,
dude,
right?
hell yeah.
That was by far
It's like
the
the only time I
best
pulled the right
thing
trigger.
in the whole entire game.
Which, I was like, I don't like Kai Lang as a character. I think he's stupid.
Where did he come from? Was he?
But-
He's in the
was he-
books.
Right?
I
Is that
don't- I-
it?
Forget all that.
Stupid.
He,
I think
was,
he started in the book.
he
Stupid.
didn't work. But I was like, after that scene, I was like, it was almost worth having it. Not
Oh, yeah.
not completely,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
almost worth having
That
it.
felt
in this game.
really good. That
That,
felt really,
that
really,
just the
really good.
slow mo turn and
Yeah.
that was good.
What I think I like the most about the third one was, like you said, Neil, the entire game. If you look at it as that is the ending, you're literally saying goodbye to everyone. Even like from the beginning of the game, you're saying goodbye to everyone. Like it's such it's like depressing the whole time.
It is, and it start and
You're
you know
literally
that,
saying
and
goodbye
you know
to
that from the
everyone.
very beginning
Even when you just see
when
them.
you see that kid like blow up when you went to go
this is
save him. You know what I
going to
mean?
be a
You see
sad
it from
game.
right that point that it's gonna be a depressing game, and I
Right.
wish they would have stuck with that until the ending instead of making it now like everyone's fine and happy and everything's great, because I don't like that.
Because with the ending, again, I just feel like if I could have told this child to go just blow it,
Yeah.
and then if my war assets were high enough, in which making the decisions that I made in the game, I feel like to me to make that kind of decision, they weren't high enough.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like they should be higher than what I was actually at, and I feel like heavy losses, whatever, and I do feel like that would have actually been a great way to implement your war assets in the game. Even if you lost, you could still see cinematic cuts, whatever, of your war assets going at it. And I feel like that would have just been that would have been it for
And
me.
it
That
doesn't
would have
even
been
need
worth picking up
and it
through
doesn't
again for me.
even it didn't even need to be CG. Like I didn't need you to spend
No.
all this money.
No.
I just needed a slideshow of the Arachnite Queen like busting someone up or anything like that, because I was kind of annoyed that she was in my game because I
Correct.
killed her.
I was annoyed that she was in your game because I'm like the only
No.
person I know that let her live in the first one.
I was watching someone play through it,
Yeah.
and they killed the Arachnite Queen in the first game.
Yeah.
And there was a line of dialogue they threw in. You probably missed it.
No,
It said-
about
that
talking about
explained-
why?
They
Oh, yeah.
explained that wasn't the Arachnite Queen. That
Oh
was
no!
like
They
just
explain.
another-
Yeah, they
but
explain that.
it's
Yeah,
silly.
but it's the
That's silly.
Arachnite.
It's-
It's not Arachnite.
it's
The
so hard.
Arachnite in general
Right.
were supposed to be exterminated, not
Right.
just the Queen.
That
That's
was
the
the
part that
crux
bothers
of
me.
that
something-
decision in one was
Yeah.
that
And
you
that
were about to make a
thing,
race go extinct.
right? And
Right.
that thing in that decision was a thing they actually pointed out and said that was going to matter later on. And
Yes.
that's the part that bothered me is that you
Yes.
could have at least made that one decision matter.
Yes.
But just overall, like things that I wanted to bring up that were like things that just I was wondering how y'all felt about it. So the
We're at
whole
31 minutes. By
the
way.
whole inclusion of the Star Child part, or the kid in general.
Right.
Do you feel like originally when they show him, they don't go into much exposition about like who he is or what he is or
Right,
what's going on. Like, do you feel like now them telling you that he is a AI that was created by a civilization
don't
from
think it
beforehand? Yeah. Do you think that was
I
necessary?
feel like, and this was my
You
issue.
think it took away?
Yeah, because I liked it before when I just didn't know what the hell
You
was
thought it
going
was
on.
just like a random.
I know what the hell it was.
I feel like the
I could've
more,
guessed it
like,
was an
I
AI.
didn't like. I don't even like the fact that they gave us an explanation for the Reapers. But then I don't like that they gave us an explanation for the explanation. I just feel like the further you get, that's a deeper hole. That
Yeah, but
you're
that's
digging
the
into.
same thing you did with George Lucas did that in the first Star Wars films when he talked about the midichlorians and all that crap about explaining the Force. Like he's explaining things that don't need to be explained.
Right. I thought the reason that I enjoyed the Reapers,
Which is what Andrew wanted for Prometheus. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that I like the Reapers as
Yeah,
antagonists, and I think they're very similar. There's a YouTube guy, and I don't know if he is. I
You
watch
liked
his
the
channel.
Inception horn. That's what you liked. That's what you liked about them.
Yeah, well, his name, he's Arsene guy. He talks about this stuff, and one of his thing, and I love listening to him because he's extremely
You talking about
intelligent.
the Angry Joe
And
guy?
one of the no, this
Oh,
his name's Arsene Gaia. It's anyways, but he said the reason I like the Reapers so much, and I think it's a lot like Lavos and Chrono Trigger, is that he's like they were the definitions of what a true alien is, which is a being outside the realm of our understanding. Because even the Solarians, the Quarians were aliens, but
Yeah,
still
they were
and
all made
so
to be human-esque.
The fact that the Reapers were that in the first two games, especially the first time you meet them, and I think it's in
first one.
Vermeer in the
Yeah,
first,
the first
one,
one,
I was
yeah.
like, I was almost
Yeah, you're
terrified.
like, what the hell is that?
And then the
squid?"
fact that the end of 3 just kind of reduced them to like robots for this AI's doing, I just felt was like,
Right, and I agree with you about that, because if you look at in that app I have for my iPad that talks about behind the scenes of Mass Effect, they talk about their original design document for the game, and you can read about what they're originally doing. And it actually said what you just said about how all the other races were supposed to be very relatable to human,
Right.
but not human. And so that was like a big thing that they were doing, and that was built for that way so that the Reapers did seem more alien,
Right.
more threatening and scarier and stuff
Right.
like that. And they did it in the first game, like with the Geth even, because they began to be like, that was really scary, like the way they were
Right.
interacting
Yeah.
with the Geth.
Yeah.
And they even made the Geth more human-esque later on, too.
Right.
So, yeah.
Does this unit have a soul? I almost cried. Yes, you do.
so okay, what do you think about what he just said?
Yeah, about the whole explanation and like the Godchild being now just another crazy AI almost is what they're basically
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
He's
it's-
just he made this decision to with some BS philosophy about how this is
Right.
better to control chaos by
I
making
had creators,
chaos.
but they're a Reaper now, so
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Which will
In an erase you'll probably see in DLC.
DLC.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
whole
I mean,
other.
obviously EA is just trying to take the game somewhere to get more money from our wallets for DLC.
And honestly, this is one thing I had a problem in the first game. I actually thought they were going to add a little more to it to make me feel like I didn't think it was as dumb. But I actually didn't like that whole scene at the end where the old man is talking to the child.
Stargazer thing.
What was the
Buzz.
point of that, though?
The only reason it was
Don't know.
significant was because it wasn't significant originally, and the only reason it's significant is because there was one ending that wasn't that.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Other than that, there was no point.
Yeah, it just seems really.
It was lame and
stupid.
very poorly paced in the way that he talked.
Yeah.
It was supposed to instill hope, I think.
Right?
But
It was just kind of like,
like,
this is lame, and I don't
this
really
is
show me,
bad
understand.
voice
show me
acting.
more Morden and Thane.
Right, yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Okay, so the only other thing was like, did you feel like overall, like if you like Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, right? Do you feel like your decisions mattered? Like in terms of the series as a whole, do you feel like your decisions mattered?
In my experience, yes. Not all the way to the very last 10 minutes of the game, no.
Okay.
But my experience through the beginning of 3 to that last 10 minutes,
Yeah.
the like experience you have with the characters and stuff, dialogue and stuff.
I watched the
like
part that they let you show also on the app of you know the scene where Ashley gets hurt, or Kaiden, if for some god awful reason you saved Kaiden in the first game,
Which you shouldn't have.
where he gets injured when you're fighting that
I've seen footage
other
go
AI.
online because apparently people do
Oh,
say
people did do that,
I've never met someone.
Yeah.
personally.
Well, you know when you carry him into the sick bay of your ship, the med bay, and you carry him
talking
into the
about the very
ship. Yeah, when
Mars-
Ashley gets
Mars
hit.
mission?
Yeah, when Ashley gets hurt and you bring her in before Edie
Dude,
assumes
she
that
got
body.
her ass
Well, look,
whooped,
in
son.
that scene, if you were a love interest with Ashley, Shepard actually holds Ashley like he cradles her instead of throwing her over his back. So little, you know, in the dialogue he has about her changes,
Right.
and also if you're a female Shepard, the dialogue changes too.
Yes.
Right.
So
You
I
can
I
deal
do
with Garrus,
I do
which
think
is,
that there to me a lot of the decisions I made I felt like did impact things, even if things like we said the Arachnite Queen and things like that didn't matter. But I mean I don't know how you felt, Josh, but I mean did you really not feel that your decisions mattered?
No,
in the
I
game?
think you know we said something earlier, and I think it's pretty significant. Is that the entire third game?
Everything I said was significant.
Right. You said that away from the microphone. You should have said that in wrong direction. No, I definitely I feel like, and I felt like the whole game was just ending this thing, and which is why it's hard for me to go and pick parts of 3 that I don't like, because I feel like the whole thing, and so which is why it's so hard for me to dismiss the end, because really the crux of this game, I feel like this entire game was like, how is this going to end? Like, how is this going to be?
I'd argue that was the crux of the whole series too.
Right,
but
right,
yeah,
right.
no, agreed.
Right,
Agreed.
so it's very hard for me to separate 3 from, or the series from the end. Now, up until, like you said, up until that point, especially going on to YouTube and watching other people's playthroughs and how the different characters and stuff that yes, I would say up to the point it was drastically different, and obviously the amount of design and work on their part to create such a thing where it
Yeah.
was. Now,
Stupid idea to do from the beginning, because that must have been a horrible thing to
But-
realize that hours and hours of content
That's the
people
thing.
would not see.
That's the thing had an effect on it, and they're like,
I think that's what
"Whoa,
happened."
We have gone way too far, bottleneck a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's what I'm saying.
If we want to continue
You
selling
had
this game in
to
the
you
future,
had to bottle
that's important what you just said.
Yeah,
In
no,
order
that's
to
too.
continue selling, we
to
have to
continue
bottleneck
making
this.
money from this game, we need to bottleneck a little bit
But
because it
money,
will just
man.
get crazy.
Ultimately, what it comes down to is, so if I play through 1 again and I play through 2 again, I feel like I'm going to have the conversation, do I want to play through 3 again?
That is so insane to me. Because 3 is the only one that doesn't play like crap, so I don't understand why you would say that. Because 1 is like a shoddy, like, frame rate broken, driving Mako garbage game
Because
with
to me-
awesome music.
Because to
and
me, 1 by far is the most compelling story.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like the decisions you make in
I
1
agree.
Yeah.
are way more significant, except for the final end of 2.
one's
The
whole atmosphere
Yes.
as a game
Yes.
is very distinct, even as a video game, and like it has that old sci-fi feel that I don't think any game, including the other 2 in this series, have been able to match. And how
Well, and that was the thing I liked about 1 was that I loved it despite its flaws, which is saying a
Oh,
lot
and it had a
because
lot of
they
flaws.
were plentiful. They were
yeah.
plentiful. Where 2, obviously, the story was more concentrated on characters, but I felt like the ending to 2 was better than any mission ever in any Mass Effect, just because I felt
Well,
like
most games, because you say the ending to 2, but he means the suicide mission, because the actual ending versus the Terminator face
Right.
Geth thing was complete garbage.
well, but I felt like
Kind of poopy.
that whole
agree.
run through, I was just like my stomach was in a knot.
That's because you didn't do
And-
anything right and people died. See,
But I did a lot right. I had a lot of people live. But so I wasn't
Yeah.
5 of my people died, and
Yeah,
I didn't lose, which I think is great that you could lose in 2.
Did anyone ever watch and see what happened if you let everyone die?
I don't know.
Do you know what happens in
I
3?
feel like
If
you
it's
should
just
have had
Joker?
to start with somebody new at the beginning of 3.
How would
If
they
it-
how would you have half of what you can do in game
Well,
3?
the default game though is that almost everyone dies. Like if you defaultly went into 3 without playing 2,
Is that a lot
everyone
of
dies.
people
And
die?
I looked at a video that on that iPad app that is amazing. That's the background that Jeff Keighley did. It actually shows you the percentage of people who did an import of Mass Effect 1, and it was only 52% of the people who played 3 had an import from Mass Effect 2. And this was after the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks of when the game started, which is pretty crazy. And that's where I feel like what we're saying and what a lot of the fans are saying is from such a small minority. Even though we are the ones that should be trying to quote unquote please, like. Most people probably didn't even finish Mass Effect 1 or finish Mass Effect 2 if they started. And they just needed to make a compelling game. And I think Mass Effect 3 is that. It's a shame they didn't match up to our expectations as fans, but a lot of people just didn't even finish the game.
I don't feel like 3, and to go back, do I think my choices mattered?
Yeah.
I don't feel like in terms of the weight that my choices had in 1 and 2, by the time that 3 was over, no, I don't think it carried itself.
We're talking
as well
about
as
all the
other two.
choices or just the choices within 3? You know what I mean? Like
I feel like the choices I made overall, I feel like the choices I made in 1 had something to do with 2, and I feel like
Kaiden or Ashley do.
right, and I feel like 2, had a lot to do with who showed up at the. But I just felt like by the time the game was over, all I could ask myself was, well, what was the point of what I just played? Because I know what the point of the end of 2 is. Keeping those people alive in 2 was enough to make me go back and want to do 2 over again.
I agree. No, I agree. And that's why I do feel like 3 fails at that point because you can't because the war assets and all that stuff doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, and now they've made it matter less because you only need 31
Correct. I said
assets.
they went the
So
opposite
you don't even
direction.
need to do multiplayer
But
anymore.
that was
or
a
do anything
double-edged
like that.
sword because I would have complained if I had to get back up to 5,000.
Oh, I
So,
agree. I agree. I'm not gonna. I'm just saying that they've made it's another backstep of they've conceded that they didn't do it right. I just think that you wouldn't have any of this complaining or half as many people bitching
If they'd have done this
if they would have
originally.
just done this
They had
thing
the
at the very
extended
beginning,
cut
which still just obviously just not enough people QA'd or not enough people looked at this or because it just seems like blatant stuff that you would know that people would not like.
Well, but like I said, I feel like if I said at the beginning, if I went back and played it again, I don't think Destroy is the option that I would have picked.
That's what synthesizes, right?
No, I probably would have told the Star Child, screw you. I would reject your endings because I feel like that's the only one that is. I feel like that's the only, at least as far as I've played, is consistent with how I've played the rest of the game.
That means your Shepard was dumb though because then you were not making the hard decision. To me.
That to me is the hard decision. That's the hardest decision.
That's just letting everyone die.
But that's not to let people fight.
Space
until they
magic
die.
is the answer, Josh.
But that's the
Space
easiest
Jesus
answer.
is the
That's the easiest answer. That's the most cop out answer to me. It's too easy.
Welcome to BioWare's writing staff. See, that's why it works.
I did like the Edie's little monologue though that they added.
Yes.
I thought
I
that was
like
good.
how they had
That was
different
good
people
writing.
Yeah,
coming in
I think
monologues.
that
I like
wasn't.
that
I
a
don't see.
lot.
I didn't see a lot of people commenting on that, but I do think that having both Shepards do the monologue for that, and
Dude,
having
yeah.
Edie and having
Shepherd monologue was
Hackett.
tight.
and Hackett. Yeah, I think that
Lance
was.
Henriksen just has a good voice.
Yeah, well-
Anytime I can hear him
Well,
speak,
and so
I'm
does
all-
the
I'm about
woman who does
the
Edie.
clothes slowly come off once he starts talking.
The girl who does Edie, she's the one from Battlestar Galactica. She mains the Plain Chicken. She does a lot of sci-fi stuff. She was in Chuck and things too. She did a really good job. Too.
I like the fact
It's a
because
sexy robot
and
voice.
I'm glad that they centered that around Edie because really the only reason that I would have chose synthesized is so that she
Right.
would live.
Exactly.
I don't
Because
care.
since Legion didn't really make it, I don't care about any other Geth.
You know, Legion could. I thought there was. Isn't there a way the Legion
No,
could?
there's a way Morden
No.
can live.
That's true. I did read the
But
more.
you have to sabotage.
You
him,
have
and
to
the
pretty much-
Legion dies no matter what.
That's right, because
Yeah.
he's sacrificed. He's giving himself up to
Which
save. That's
is-
right. That's right.
oh
Which
my
to me
God,
is
that
like
was
I
just-
couldn't imagine.
That was rough.
That was the hardest.
Yeah, that's what
You know you can shoot Morden.
What?
I believe
I
that you
think
can shoot Morden.
Dude, like,
Why in God's name would you shoot Morden?
Because that to me is taking Renegade way out of character.
That is awesome, but stupid, but
But
awesome.
like I said, I just feel like if there was a point in the game that I could actually get so many war assets, I don't care how much time and effort I had to put into the game.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the whole game, I feel like this whole time we were just beating the odds. We were just proving everybody wrong. And then when the Star Child said, if you pick destruction, the cycle is just going to reinvent itself. Well, if not me,
It's good, well, then
but
one
if
Mass
but
Effect in
if,
the
but if
future,
y'all,
don't play.
but, he said synthetics and organics cannot get along. But like y'all, they can. You
Yeah.
proved him wrong. You
I
proved
do
him
think that
wrong
had to be
every
said.
step-
I wish they
every
would have just
step of
said
the
that
way.
line that actually,
I
that is
proved you
incorrect
wrong.
because
Yeah.
we've been this whole game
Which
we've
is
been
why
saying.
I feel like winning,
Yeah.
if it was an option, with the way that I played, I feel like I still should have lost with my decisions, and I'm okay with that because it would have given me enough reason to go back and say these war assets do matter, and I do want a better ending. Which, like I said in 2, I care enough about those people that I want them to go back and I would play, and that's just.
It kind of ruined Legion's quote unquote sacrifice too.
Yeah, or the
It's
whole
like,
character of Edie,
I know,
or the
right?
whole Geth and Quarian race conflict,
Which was
or,
like a
or
third-
everything
third-
there.
Why,
of the
if I
game.
kill the Reapers, why do I have to kill all these? Like, well, if you do this, and that's just like making
Well, because
decisions
it ends
tough for
all
tough
synthetic.
sake.
Yeah, that's all it was. Because it just ends all synthetic life. So
But the ships still work. But like, why is it synthetic?
bad writing. That is why. Because Bioware doesn't know what they're
let me
doing.
ask you this. Okay, so let's get down to something very nitpicky that bothered me immediately, which is not a big deal. It didn't ruin anything, but I felt like as far as them being on the ship and them fudging that by coming back down, and then the ship crash landing, and people's like, "What are they doing? They're crash landing."
I
And
don't
in
even
this
wanna
one,
talk
they
about the
fixed-
crash landing.
They left it. I'm like, why even have us crash land in the first place?
Yeah.
Because they had
I felt
assets.
no,
Oh, but they know. Actually, they did it. They did it because they wanted to have that ridiculously long music swell that they did towards the end.
There
That
was.
was just
That
like
song was
they
so
just
tight,
kept
though.
going and kept going. I know, but that swell was way too long. With the extended cut, with the way they did that,
so
that
tight.
just kept going and going.
Because I thought the music in 3 was probably my favorite. I'd gone back and listened to it a lot, even though I didn't want to go back to 3 before this. And I just sit here and listen like this music's looping so bad. I
It
can hear the
was,
loops. I was like,
but
this
yeah,
loop
it
is
was.
so bad. with this
But
music.
one's music is better than 3. One's music is better than all the other ones.
Just the sounds, like when you're
Yeah,
playing
massive-
around with computers in the game.
But I've told you that Clint Mansell did a lot, which
Yeah,
he's
that's
like one of
why.
my favorite composers, period, in a movie. So I'm biased.
No, I think that just to go back to that landing scene, if you're going to make them land, especially since the engines don't even explode now,
right, they completely changed that.
why did they get out? Like, why did they even show them get out of the ship? Because it doesn't even matter anymore.
I would have
Like,
gotten out probably out of curiosity.
it just
more,
it
but-
looked
yeah,
around while the
yeah.
music played and looked through the bushes or whatever. No, that's stupid.
I felt like them leaving. I feel like that was them leaving
Except-
was them fudging why they even
Right,
fucking there in the
especially when they
first
show them
place.
take right off right after. It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
what?
Like, wait, okay.
What
Well,
did you
it's
just
like,
do?
But you had to put the plaque on the wall. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we can't walk around in a ship while it's in space. Oh, we
Yeah.
haven't been doing that for 3 games.
But and they also did add the scene where Hackett actually tells everyone to leave. Too.
Now that I like.
Yeah, I thought that was necessary.
That one I felt like wasn't a fudge, or it was a fudge, but I felt like it fit.
Right, and I don't.
And
now,
it made sense that would be the plan.
now, while I don't feel like they had to show it, I can see why they did that.
Right.
That and also the scene where they have Garrus come by Joker and be like, "We have to go, man. We have to go." I didn't feel like that was necessary, but I feel
No,
like
but it was a nice little tug.
yeah.
tug at the heart.
Just one of those things they had to put there. But again, and they also showed the scene where Hackett is telling everyone that we noticed that someone's down there, and they noticed that Shepard's on.
Well,
the
that
ship.
was, and you can't see this, but I'm giving the middle finger. That was the middle finger to indoctrination.
Oh, yeah, no, a lot of
it's like,
that
no,
stuff was.
we know that someone's there. Someone's made it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, all in all, I liked the extended cut. Like, I liked the original game. I feel like
thought the extended cut improved a lot.
yeah, I just
some-
don't feel like it
provided closure,
fixed
which-
the problems with the ending, but I do feel like that it gave people some more, to work with and things like that. But I still feel like, again, you wouldn't have had as big of an outcry if that was there originally.
Which that was my question. One of my big questions after playing it was, why wasn't this originally?
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's that it was
Timing, I
rushed.
guess?
Yeah, but it's like this game has had a while. Was it just like, why is your ending like that?
Because I know they had pushed back once. It was supposed to come out last November.
And I think a lot of that though
They
was to
pushed it
fix the
back to
multiplayer.
March.
I
Yeah,
really think that's what
Connect.
happened. Which,
Yeah.
hey, but the Connect stuff is really
Boomstick.
good.
Pull
Hey,
up shot.
hey, no, the Connect stuff, no matter what everyone says, the Connect stuff was
liked it. I
almost my
liked playing
favorite
it.
part of playing it, like during battles, because I could just yell the powers that I didn't have on my little crappy
You're
Xbox
dead.
controller. Yeah.
And then you played Just Dance 3 after you
No, but-
off with clothes.
I mean, I think there were a lot of concessions made to Mass Effect in general when it had to go multi-platform, and I think that we just didn't see a lot of that too. And I think that's where you saw a lot of like these added characters that didn't seem like they had to be in there. It was just introducing new things to the franchise. But again, overall, I like Mass Effect. I like the extended
Absolutely.
cut.
The
I like the
ending-
synthesized ending. I don't really care what anybody else
The
says.
fact that people can go back now and get that ending,
Yeah.
I feel like I can recommend it again. And like you said, just the world and the way it pulls you in and the thought and the lore. I feel like regardless of what I think about the end of 3, I still feel like it is a significant achievement
Yeah.
in video
And
games.
I think that's
storytelling.
One of the greatest trilogies of video games.
Yeah,
I've
and I think
played.
that giving the fans something, even if it wasn't exactly what everyone wanted, because you can't please everyone. I think BioWare deserves some credit for at least putting out this. No, putting out this extended DLC, because they could have just been like, you know what, y'all bought the game anyway, deal with it.
That
No, then
would have
giving
been PR suicide.
no, that's not gonna matter. They're still gonna sell the next game. This is people pissing and moaning, but they're gonna be fine. It's BioWare and it's EA. They're gonna be okay. I feel like them at least doing that. You should give them credit, because there are a lot of companies that would not have fixed that.
I
Would not have
agree,
listened.
I agree.
They wouldn't even have listened to their fans enough to even care.
Right.
But they were interacting with their fans about it. Now they weren't gonna admit that they were wrong, because you can't do that. You can't admit and say our writing style sucks and we don't know how we're writing.
Oh no, I'm not asking.
But
you
I
to do
think that they did the right thing by at least attempting to put a Band-Aid over it. And like we all said, it obviously was better for what it was for them trying to do that. And I think that they deserve credit as a company for at least responding to fans. Because I feel like people just keep on crapping on them. And it's like, hey, what else were they supposed to do at this point? Obviously they messed up. There's not a lot you can do. And the turnaround wasn't that long. You know what I mean? For what we got. It came out
from,
within...
from when they announced it too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, by the way, this is coming out Tuesday.
I thought this was
okay.
going to be one of those like summer, September, November times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Look, I did now. Really, like you're right. Whether they just did it out of kindness or they just had to do it to sell DLC, like I feel like they had to release this. It being EA more than anything.
I think
I'm a little skeptical of.
I think the people who are going to buy the DLC were going to buy the DLC anyway. And I
That's what I'm talking
and you two, I don't know if y'all are buying the DLC, but because I like Mass Effect and I like the universe and I like the
I like
world,
Shadow Broker.
I will play the DLC.
But that's different. Shadow Broker bridged a gap between two.
So
three.
what makes you think that the DLC and what they do wouldn't bridge a gap between what they're going to do in the next one? Josh, Carly.
Because everyone's happy in your ending. We
So?
don't need. There's no more
So?
conflict in your ending.
Oh no! There can still be conflict just because everyone's enlightened and great. Something else can happen, especially if you have a Rogue Reaper or whatever this other DLC garbage is.
Leviathan.
Yeah, I think there is definitely room.
Did
for
you
something to
notice?
happen.
Now, did you notice at the end of this one there wasn't? They completely changed the final end message.
Oh yeah. They
There
changed
was no more buy. No, it didn't say anything about buying DLC this time.
Yeah,
and I thought
yeah.
that was funny.
Yeah.
I really.
It seemed
do,
more heartfelt, honestly. Like the way
Yes.
they wrote. Yeah, it seemed more like.
Well, it was also like we thank the fans and for the people who have put hard work into this, and I will not. So when Mass Effect 3 came, I didn't play 1 and 2 when they came out. I picked them up later. I played 3 when it came out because of.
How long ago did you play Mass Effect 1 before 3 came out?
I only played 1 like a year and a half ago.
Okay, so it was pretty fresh in your mind. Yeah,
Right.
I played 1 when it came out.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
No,
right
it was
when
still so, which is why
'Cause I play good games.
based on how did they handle it well? Did they handle that? I bought 3, no questions asked. It could have had terrible reviews. I
Correct.
would have bought 3.
Yep.
That will not be the case with the next game.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
I
saying
agree.
I won't buy their game, but
I'm pretty sure Josh has actually said that before we
Yeah,
were
I said
recorded.
that.
Okay, just
Yes,
making
I
sure, just for the record, guys.
this
Because I remember playing
I-
beer pong, and I said, if I win this beer pong game, you're buying the next Bioware game, which is Command
Command & Conquer. That doesn't count.
But I lost the beer pong game.
And then that's
Okay.
specific, but that's what the extended cut did. The extended cut made me be like, I will at least consider it.
Okay, well, I feel
It'll
like,
make me want to dig into the
hey,
back
and then I
catalog.
feel like if you're BioWare, that's a success.
That is
but,
a success.
But I do still feel like I hope the message BioWare gets isn't, okay, we can't do a depressing, sad ending, and that people all want good endings.
I
Because
never read I'm not gonna say I didn't read a single person's, but and I went through a lot of message boards. That was not a common thing that I found people saying.
people did say,
I know
especially if
people
you
did.
go into the insane BioWare forums that are
Yeah.
like crazy places, talk about people were saying that how they're all pretty much good endings. Because in the end, everyone's like, "Oh
Right.
yeah, we survived. Everything's
It
good."
depends on
It's
how you
hope."
look at it.
Right,
Like,
but I
let's
still,
talk about
but
space.
I just wanted everyone to die. Like I really did. I really thought like I was afraid this game was
feel
going to
like-
get spoiled.
I feel like
I
most people
everyone
went
to
into
die.
this thinking Shepard was going to die. I assumed going into
I
this
thought
that
the Earth was gonna blow up.
Right.
And that's really what I wanted. I actually wanted your team to survive and like other races to survive, but I wanted Earth to explode and humans be like the Quarians, where I wanted it to be like Battlestar Galactica. It's kind of how that works, where you have these humans traveling because the Earth is just screwed.
Right,
Like
right.
Earth is done. Because that to me would have been more interesting. Starting
love
off point,
like a new series.
well, yeah, where Earth now humans were just ascending in this galaxy to like we're so important now, you know, and then now you're reduced to like there's not a lot of you left. I think that would have been really cool to leave it off of.
Well, we'll see with the DLC, and like that's another thing. I said, if the DLC actually comes out and proves to be a good addition to the story, then I'll buy it.
Okay, and you?
If it's a good addition to the story, I'm not gonna buy it because it's Mass Effect DLC.
Right. What about you, Andrew? Will you buy it?
Yes, I will.
Even if it doesn't have a lot of Liara in it, and it's not multiplayer focused, where you can spend $5 at a time to buy new guns.
Shut up! I did that like once.
But I mean, and like I said, I'll buy it because I'm interested in the game and I like the universe, and I don't
I
think
like
that
to
there's
play
been
the game.
a
The game's fun. It's fun to play. It's fun.
I feel like in order
Fun
to
game.
continue in this universe, they are going
you have to buy it on
to,
Wii U.
Yes, they're going to have to completely diverge from the Shepherd story.
Well, they already said
Let's-
that.
Yeah,
No, they already
yeah,
said
yeah,
this
yeah.
is
Yeah,
the
they said they're
this
doing
is
that.
this is
They're-
Shepard's story, and whatever's next is different. Now they can either go from before doing the first Contact Wars, which there were some rumors they would do that, but to me that would be stupid because then you'd be making decisions that would make like time paradoxes with future.
Right.
My thing would just be do it crap long in the future, like way long into the future. That way you
Right.
can have the relays work again.
But the problem with that is because it wasn't as effectively bottlenecked. Like, are you playing as your synthesized people, or are we?
yeah,
playing
I
as,
think you could do that where you could be like the something went wrong. I
Now,
think you could do a
I
lot
feel
of
like
that
that.
fourth
bottleneck.
game could be potentially a huge step forward as far as technology and how the game even presents its entire self
Yeah.
being based.
I think
off
you should
of,
I think you should reboot everything, but I think you can actually I don't know if you can have any of your decisions take directly from the game depending on what system like a next Mass Effect would come on.
Right.
But even if I could just answer like a few questions like they kind of made you answer or a motion comic or whatever, to just make a few key decisions to where they kind of affect it. Like base things like what did you do with the genophage or like little things
Right.
I say little but like big things like that to actually change the way this game is. I think would be really neat. But I mean, I'm down with just the whole rebooting of the whole franchise. Just put it somewhere else and just have some of these same races and characters. Because, like I said, their goal was to make like their own Star Wars. Don't even get me started. Don't get me started on the MMO. Yeah, because that worked out so well for Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, because Knights of the Republic, I mean, they didn't take the writer from the first two
Right.
Mass Effects to do that. That didn't affect it.
I think I really do think that they should just
They clearly didn't prioritize that over Mass Effect.
I just want them to reboot the whole entire thing because I like that world so much. And I feel like they were successful in creating their own quote unquote Star Wars, like their whole universe with interesting races,
Right.
interesting characters.
F you, George Lucas.
Just do that. Yeah, well, because I mean they were making those
Now,
Knights of the Old
using the
Republic
Star,
games that
have
were
you,
great.
now, one thing I did like is I don't know if you've heard the Star Wars analogy, which is, and this was one of the I guess the main one
With
of
the midichlorians?
No, is with like the ending to Mass Effect 3. It's like if we watched the first 3 Star Wars, and then instead of the ending of 3, we got the ending to 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
I think that was the point I wanted to make initially and didn't get to. But that would be a big hang up there.
Again, I just feel like more explanation of your mythology is dumb, and they should have
Right.
just shut up, not make the Star. But the thing is, people wanted more of an explanation. People wanted that stupid child to talk more. People wanted to know, well, why did the Vipers do that? And I'm just not that person.
I didn't need
'Cause I'm
that.
awesome.
I needed to know why they're on a. I want to know what happens
Right.
to my crew.
Right. Well, see, and again, I feel like this is another thing overshadowed by all the people bitching and moaning. It's like the fact that we even cared about this ending, the fact that we even cared about these characters, shows that they did a pretty damn good job in the last 3
I agree.
games.
Make it right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or we wouldn't be having this argument at all
Right.
because games have crappy endings all the time,
Right.
and no one
We
cares.
don't care because the game has
Which-
been crappy.
And we're not attached to those characters.
Which is right. Which is interesting because it's like and I think BioWare has come out and said whether it's PR or they mean it. They said they've said we're just we understand people are angry or whatever, but we're just complimented that people have just taken this much stock in what we've
and
done.
they should be. And I honestly
Which
do
is
feel like
why
that.
I think that there was more outcry about this game ending than other game endings because people held this to a higher standard because it had presented itself as such.
No, I agree. I
and I
agree.
feel like it should be held to a higher
And,
because it was just a
and in
better
the same
quality
way, not
game.
just like story stuff, but I mean, people. You played Uncharted 3 yet or no?
No, I didn't play
You
3
have.
yet.
I don't have a PlayStation.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, there are some people who held the same
Get
thing.
out, you're not welcome.
There's,
I know.
there's the same people who said that about
Look at
Uncharted
my
3.
keys.
There's the same people who said that because 3 is a really good game that actually churned out in almost less than a year in shorter months, but it's not quote unquote as good as Uncharted 2. Right. And people just held it to a higher standard, even though it's better than like 90% of the other
Right.
action games out there. And I think Mass Effect had that same problem where
Oh, yeah.
our standards were just higher. But again, I don't think that excuses their really crappy writing that I feel like still affected the ending. And still
Yes.
does, even with the extended DLC.
Yes. And okay, thank y'all. Why are you still listening?
Yeah.
We appreciate you for
You've
listening.
made it this far.
We're going to do this again with other interesting things, I'm
Yes,
sure.
give us ideas. If you have ideas, something you want to hear us talk about.
We can talk about why
Space
Josh is.
Jesus.
We can talk about why certain people in this room are wrong about Prometheus, or whatever. I'm down with
You
anything.
are wrong about Prometheus, Neil. I'm glad you can finally admit that you are wrong about Prometheus.
And let's wrap it because that recorded.